on the outcome on the election. Um, it went blue from Kenora, Ontario, all the way to Vancouver. No Liberals. Ralph Goodall lost his seat. My area in Ontario, I mean, I'm in this rural corridor that was reliably conservative, and it stayed blue. Beautiful Thousand Islands area. Got this Trey Gowdy candidate, Michael Barrett, who really is the right guy to have won my area. So, I mean, really, I mean, we won. Conservatives won the popular vote, but just like in America, the popular vote means jack, and so it's not what matters. What this outcome, though, has done is really split the country from, I mean, essentially Toronto, Montreal, Quebec, has decided that Trudeau was going to stay. And he had a clear mandate that's very anti-West. Very anti-West. And he said that not a humble guy at all, interrupted Andrew Scheer, no matter what you think of him. His concession speech. No, we can't have that. Not even, you can say what you want about Andrew Scheer. I don't think he deserved that. And I think that was a big FU. I think that's why Justin Trudeau did that. He walked right out when Andrew Scheer was about to give his concession speech. And of course they covered the winner, right? But that was... it's just not. It was that looks so bad, you know. What a bad winner, you know. It's just no. It's all about him. It was all that was essentially the election. I mean, it was all about him and his hatred for the West. My birth home, right? Right, my birth, my Winnipeg. I'm a Prairie Boy living in a rural conservative area, but still. So again, the election, I mean, wow. The West is like another country. From Kenora, so right from Kenora, all the way to all the way down to Vancouver went blue. And the northern area is NDP. Anyway, so the big winners in this election were the separatists, both in Quebec and in the West. Now, I have conflicting views on the whole Wexit thing. I think they should go for it. I think it would save the country. I'm a mixed Federalist Wexit. You know, I think the Alberta and Saskatchewan forcing Ottawa to come to the table will actually revamp our system, renew Confederation. You know, I saw Scott, the Premier of Saskatchewan, it's a letter saying he wants a new deal, and I think that would be great. I think that would actually bring in a new system for Canada, that would be fair for my relatives in Alberta. I have relatives in Alberta, and it would save the Confederation. I mean, that's how I see it. Because if Alberta and Saskatchewan and my birth home, Manitoba, do leave, well, if one of them leaves, that's the end of the country. I mean, the entire country starts to balkanize, breaks up, fractures, becomes weaker economies. And I can just see the globalists laughing their asses off, going, "Yay!" You know, all the groups. If I recommend a documentary, Over a Barrel, where it exposes all these foreign interest groups trying to destroy Alberta's economy, and you know, funded by the Soros and Rockefeller groups and World Wildlife Federation, trying to stop these pipelines for the environment, and essentially knowing about how globalism, you know, what the European Union is. I can just see them now that the Wexit, you know, I can understand, and I'm kind of like, go for it, because I think this could help Canada, you know, bring in a new system of governance that's fair. Um, you know, shoot, I think Canada would be great as a republic, you know, and give more state rights, right, for less populated areas. Seeing what Newfoundland and the Maritimes go, I mean, it. I recommend a Stan Rogers song, um, and essentially it explains. Essentially, it was about the Newfoundlanders during the recession, and the Maritimers going west during one of the hard recessions, and Alberta and Saskatchewan welcoming them. I'm talking fast, but welcoming them in with open arms, because they didn't want to go on the dole. All right, they had self-respect, you know, get some self-respect and a steady check, right, and all that. Um, but and then those who stayed on the dole, those who chose welfare or whatever, they in this election, they voted for more money, right? They voted for the Liberals, and so I can understand why the West feels betrayed by Newfoundland and the Maritimes. Like, hey, we welcomed you. We gave you jobs when you needed it, and this is what you do. Mind you, keep in mind those who are left in these areas are the ones who stayed on the dole. I think that was it. But again, back to why I'm for this whole this Wexit, but also to save the country, to get a better system of governance for Canada, because if Alberta becomes a landlocked independent nation, I can see the elite, I can see the globalists who want to balkanize everything, who wants a North American Union, wants something that looks North America, which looks like the EU, a whole bunch of small, weaker economies, with the exception of one, right? In the in Europe, it's Germany. Germany's the strongest country in Europe, and the heads of the EU, well, the heads of the EU are mostly German. Interesting. About the Fourth Reich. What did Hitler wanted to do? He wanted to take over all of Europe first, have this giant, Fourth Reich. Well, what was the Soviet Union? There was this giant thing. What's the EU? It's this giant behemoth, centered out of Brussels, right? I mean, it's like, well, they wanted. I can see that that's what they would try to do in North America, particularly. So I can see why they would be. I can see Wexit being exploited by the same groups that have destroyed Alberta's economy and Saskatchewan's economy. I can see that happen. So that's why I'm like, I want the West to force the Liberals in Toronto and Montreal. It's not Ontario. provincially, most of the country has gone populist blue. Most of the country, right? But how our system works, how many seats? I mean, Ontario has 121 seats, and most of those ridings are in the Toronto area. How is that fair? I mean, rep by pop, but it needs to be fixed. It needs to be fixed on the Maritimes canceled out Alberta and Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan has 14 seats, so does Manitoba, and Alberta has 34 seats. The Maritimes canceled out, and of course they voted red. They voted for the Liberals because those were the ones that still lived there are the ones that stayed on, that benefit from more federal money, essentially. So there's that. But I think Wexit will bring in I think they should go for it, but for different reasons. I think Reinvent Canada, have a better system instead of having a different, Canada having a different form of governance, which is fair for all provinces. I think that would be a better way to go instead of becoming one, the North American Kuwait. Two, again, even if the best option would be to Alberta and Saskatchewan become parts of the states. But again, it doesn't stop North Canada from balkanizing, and again, seeing the Rockefellers, the same groups that have hurt Alberta, the same environmental groups exploit the end of Canada, a weaker economies, it's just part of the globalist agenda, that agenda to take advantage of their competitor, right? And so there's this American Canadian named Diane Francis, and she wrote this book, Merger of the Century. She wants all of Canada to merge with America, and it's like, well, listen, we and I love America. We're so intertwined, it's not funny. A lot of Canada was, a lot of towns in the east were founded by American Empire Loyalists, those who were either afraid to die during the Revolutionary War. They didn't, you can say they were draft dodgers, that type of thing. They just didn't want to. There were people who didn't want to. I sympathize with them because they were just people who were afraid to die. So that's how I see it. I'm a little more empathetic. So they came to Canada and they founded areas in upper and lower Canada. English Canada is mainly American, right? Usually American. So in my area was I live in an area called Brockville, and it was founded as Elizabethtown by a whole bunch of Americans, and so it was so intertwined. But this, the main thing that I can see is they would want a balkanized Canada. So to see Saskatchewan and Alberta, their best option if they do leave Canada, is the States, not to become an independent nation on its own because they're still landlocked. And now British Columbia is really going to give them the finger unless they go populist, conservative, and then they can finally have that pipeline to Tidewater, right? So it would be. I'm surprised they haven't done a pipeline all the way to at least Lake Superior. But this bill C-43, I think, this tanker ban, they wouldn't be allowed to. So that's just an observation. Anyway, so that's my opinion. I think that Wexit is a good thing in the sense that it will bring a new system to save the country, though. I mean, it would to see Canada balkanize, become weaker economies. That's just what the Rockefellers and the Soroses and these groups that were trying to hurt Alberta and Saskatchewan to begin with. This is what they want. They want Saskatchewan and Alberta to leave, and make Canada push them out of the G7. You know, I mean, they have a lower economy outside of Alberta. It's an aging demographic. Alberta has a young demographic. You know, younger families. Anyhow, you all have a good one.